Shalom, shalom to Brother Kadash. I want to start off by giving out praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakodash. So I'm going to title this Vengeance, right? And this is very, very, very important, because things that's coming to surface the closer we get to our Lord's return. These end days, you have people that claim to be, we got to watch our words on YouTube, but you get what I'm saying, right? Going to Revelations 2 and 9 into Revelations 3 and 9, those that say they are but are not. But now that we waking up to our heritage, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and we're coming to the truth, people can't understand how it's happening. People can't understand that, some things don't have to come off a book. Some things don't have to be found in a cave or on the side of a rock written. Some things don't have to be that way. The Lord could give us things and show us things through the Spirit, and that's what it pretty much takes to be an Israelite to understand that, to have that spiritual connection with the Lord. It's like having that umbilical cord with the Lord, and that's what the world can't understand. So when we're waking up to the truth that so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, that we are the true Israelites, right? A lot of people are trying to do two things. At first, it was they try to discredit it and say, "Where's your proof?" Not understanding that it's prophecy that the Israelites will wake up, and it didn't say that the Israelites will wake up by the means of those different things that I listed. It's just simple that the Lord said He's going to pour the Spirit on the people, and that's what's going to wake up the Israelites. The people, the men, the sons of the wicked. They're carnal, so they don't get the spiritual things and how these things can work, right? So that has kind of been dying down. So what they went to now, because it's kind of like they say the cat is out the bag. The truth is out there. Because of us. We doing the work. All of us laying our little brick, putting our little part in it, which is just really bigger, a part of the bigger picture, the whole body. We all come together to do our parts. We got a small channel, but we do our parts. And when you get all these small channels and small groups that go out there and do the truth, it makes something big in reality. So now the people that rule in the world, the amalek, let's just call them by the biblical name Amalek, right? They're starting to get scared. So what they're doing is they're trying to get ahead of the story. So the way that they get ahead of the story, no longer can they just say, "Look, you guys are delusional. You guys don't have nothing. You guys are dumb. You don't know the history," because we're proving it, right? So now what they're trying to say is, yeah, you guys are Israelites, but the blacks are Israelites. They leaving out our brothers. They leaving out the Native Americans and Hispanics, because if they join the Native Americans and the Hispanics, would say, okay, yeah, the African Americans are Israelites because they come from West Africa, from the igloos, which are also Israelites, right? They say Ibos, right? They say it wouldn't make no sense to say, okay, well, yeah, the Native Americans, Hispanic. Then people ask, well, how are they also Israelites? Which only we can answer that. Which using Second Esdras 13 and stuff like that, right? And prophecies, many more prophecies throughout the Bible, right? Jeremiah chapter 50. Right, only we can answer those questions. They won't be able to answer it. But what they're saying is they want to cut them off and say, okay, well, the African Americans are Israelites, but they're a part of the ten lost tribes. They're the lost tribes. They're the northern kingdom. So pretty much that's the way they're trying to set it up. But when they was doing that, and I seen many different guys come out of Amalek, right? That was claiming that's like they new little teaching that they trying to do now, because they can't just say, yeah, you guys are not. Now they say, yeah, you guys probably are. You have some of them saying, well, you guys are probably are the Israelites. The original Israelites, but you guys could just convert, or you guys could convert to what we are if you're not Israelites. Or they're saying that, yeah, we are a part of it and we need to come together and be together under them. But that's all trickery, because there's one major thing that's missing, and that major thing that's missing is our vengeance. What happened to our vengeance? The Lord promised us through prophecies in the Bible that He gave to many different prophets, like Isaiah, like John the Revelator, right? Like Zechariah, right? Like Daniel. He gave us many different prophecies, which I'm not going to get them all, but through many different prophets of what? That we were going to get our vengeance. The Israelites were going to get vengeance for those that consulted against us, like it says in Psalms 83, that our Lord was going to save us, So that's a part of the redemption. And he was also going to give us vengeance. So they want to escape the vengeance part. And we're going to break down some precepts that talk about them. A couple that want that them wanting to escape that vengeance. Lamentations 4. The last couple verses kind of breaks it down. Our punishment is over. Now it's the punishment of Esau, which Amalek is a grandson of Esau, right? So this is Daniel chapter 7, right? And I'm gonna jump straight to the point where it's talking about our Lord, right? Verse 9. It says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. The ancients of days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, right? So they try to say, well, the Israelites were white back in the day, but they're not even white today. That's something man made. Just because it say white, it's not talking about what white people, because white people aren't even white, right? We know they're red, pale. It says, in the hair of his head like pure wool. So when you go to Revelation chapter 7, Revelations 1, I think starting at verse 14, 15, they try to say where it says his hairs of his head were white. Not under, and they know that this is old English. They know this, but it's semantics and it's games that they like to play. They know that means that the hairs on his head. But they try to say, well, it says his head was white like wool. But like we said, you're not the color of a piece of white paper. You're not white. That's just something that you put on yourself because of the true meaning of white, which means pure. That's all that it means, right? Now it says, but this is a good verse to go along with it to prove it that no, it's not just saying that his hair was white like wool, but his hair is actually wolf, right? It says, in the hair of his head like pure wolf. That's no different than saying white wolf, because when you look at the definition of the word white, pure is in there. It says his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire, right? And his wheels. Think about Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel wheels, right? Were called UFOs, chariots. It says a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered to him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set and the books was open. So they trying to escape that judgment, right? And let's keep going. So now that the truth is coming out, it's undeniable, right? Now they want to say, oh well, yeah, you guys are Israelites, but they still want to say, look, but you have to be nice to us. You can't get vengeance. They want to escape that judgment. Verse 11 says, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even to the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. This is going to happen to Mystery Babylon. This is a precept that goes along with Revelation 17 and 18, right? Because it's going to be burnt with fire. So right now, they have this power structure set up. And we just talk about Amalek, right? Where if you do something, then they have National Guard, they have the army and stuff like that could come in and protect them. They have the medias and stuff like that could protect them. But what do you have when that army is taken down? What do you have when that stability is taken down? That defense, which the other Edomites, the rest of the Edomites that come at your defense, when they're taken down, what do you have? Now you have to sit there face to face. And what you're going to have, I promise you this, look, what you're going to have, and this is Bible prophecy too, you're going to have a lot of them that's going to cleave to Israel, that's going to say, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans is going to come out, and they're going to bow, and they're going to admit and say, look, you know what, you guys are the true Israelites, and they're going to try to bow down so they could be saved, right? And it tells you that. Let me see if I can find it. No, let's keep going on. This is Revelations 2 and 9. It might be 3 and 9, right? Let's go to Revelations 3 and 9. You're going to have a lot of them that's going to come willing, bowing down, admitting that they have inherited lies. This Revelations 3, verse 9, it says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Where else do you see that at, right? It says, know that I have loved thee. So it's a difference, right? He's saying no, it's not everybody could be saved or everybody can inherit the kingdom. He's saying that he's gonna make them that was claiming to be us come worship at our feet. Why? Because a lot of them, when they don't have that protection, no more about the rest of the Edomites and Mystery Babylon and the dragon, NATO, they don't have that protection anymore because that beast is gonna be slain. Then they can't fight themselves, so they're gonna have to do what? Bow down, man, in order to survive, right? And it says to know that I love thee. And you also hear about that right here. This is Ezekiel 37, verse verse 24. And David my servant shall be king over them, and they shall have one shepherd, and they shall walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. New covenant, right? It says, and they should dwell in the land that I have given it to Jacob, my servant. When it says Jacob, it don't mean Esau, Ishmael, Moab, Ammon, Elon that converted. No, it means Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Israel, right? My servant wherein your fathers is through the seed. We keep telling you this is through a seed. It's through an offspring. It's through a bloodline. Have dwelt, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not the rest of the world. It says, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children. Your children comes through your seed, and their children, which also come through your seed, your grandson, your great grandson, your great great grandson, but they all come through your seed, and it's not just for any and everybody, forever, right? So if it says forever, we clearly could make the assumption that that's talking about the kingdom of heaven, right? When that's going to happen. And my servant David should be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them, and it shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them. So the Lord's taking them from the other people and placing them and multiply them by what? Seed, meaning that we're going to have sex in the kingdom because we're going to have wives in order to have babies and children. It says, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. Right? Now watch this. And my tabernacle also shall be with them. Yeah, I will be their God, and they should be my people, just like in Deuteronomy 7:6. And then for the rest of the other people that's not Israelites, verse 28. And the heathen should know that I, the Lord, do sanctify who? Israel. When it says Israel, you can't use a replacement theory and say that's talking about just the church of believers. No, when it says Israel, it's talking about Israel. That's why I read verse 25 where it talks about the fathers and the children and children, talking about people that come from the man Israel, which is the 12 tribes of Israel. When my sanctuary should be in the midst of them, this ain't everybody, them forevermore. That's a kingdom. That's kingdom talk right there, right? We gonna get some more kingdom talk. Back in Daniel chapter 7, right? Verse 11, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn, verse 12, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season of time. I saw in the night vision, behold, one like the Son of Man, which is Yahweh Shai. So, I mean, these guys, these Amalek, there's a sex of them that don't believe in who the world calls Jesus Christ. They don't believe in that figure, not that his name is Jesus, right? But they don't believe in Yahweh Shai. But here's because they say they follow the Old Testament, but this is Old Testament. It's talking about one like the Son of Man. Who is that? That's Yahweh Shai. Came with clouds of heaven, which validates the New Testament because that's a precept that goes right along with Revelations 1, right? In verse 7, it says, and came to the Ancient of Days. So you have you have a being called the Son of Man that's coming to a being called the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him. So that's the Father and the Son. So they don't believe in the Son, but you have to believe in the Son. But maybe they don't believe in the Son already came. Some of them different sects, different teachings, right? And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Now, because all people is going to worship him, then this is what Christians do. They say, well, look, all people are going to worship him. That means that all people could be saved and inherit the kingdom. No, man. It's just like today, right? Esau, which is the blessing that goes back to Genesis 27, right? When Esau got his blessing around verse 32, you can look it up. He got his blessing, right? That he was going to run the world. That's pretty much what that blessing is. He was going to be at the top. He was going to be in rulership in the world, the dew of heaven and everything like that, right? Now we see that playing out right now. Esau is in rulership. He's living out that blessing that they got from Father Isaac, right? And then after that blessing, then it's Jacob, which is the kingdom, right? Which is symbolized Jacob holding Esau's heel when he came out, because Esau came out first, so he gets his blessing first to rule the world, and then Jacob, which is the kingdom of heaven, is next, right? And that's what we're coming to, right? So he's clearly playing out his blessing, right? And he's in rulership right now. And all nations, and it speaks about this in Revelation 17, all nations are, he has power over all nations and dominions, right? And all people are worshiping him. Now, does that mean that all people are in power and rulership with him? Inherit the kingdom? No, that doesn't mean that. We live here in America, the so-called Negroes. Do we, are we in power in America? No, but or do we have to? Are they forcing or deceiving our people to worship them? Their pagan holidays and their presidents and their leadership. We have to follow, and we have to follow their rules. If they say on this street you can't go past 60 and you're caught going past 70, can't you be taken to jail? Can't you get a ticket? Don't they make those rules of what happens and what not happens, right? So it's the same thing. Just because all people are going to have to worship, because it talks about that in the book of Zechariah 14. All nations are going to have to worship the Lord, right? But the difference with the Israelites is they're going to be under the new covenant, they're going to be made perfect, they're not going to sin no more. Therefore, the Israelites in the kingdom are not going to be punished no more, right? It's the kingdom of heaven, everlasting paradise. For who? The Israelites. They're not going to be sinning no more, and they're not going to be punished anymore in the kingdom. That's what the kingdom's for. We're not going to be punished no more. But other nations, they're going to have to worship too, but there's still going to be punishments for them. Read the book of Zechariah 14. That's the big difference. So it shows you there's going to be a ruling class, which is who? The Israelites. Let's keep going. Verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in the spirit, right? Um, in the midst of my body, in the vision of my head, there troubled me, right? And then he's going to get the interpretation, but I'm going to skip down straight to the point, right? Verse 22, right? Verse 21. And I beheld the same hour made war with the saints. The same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So we don't get vengeance for that. Verse 22. Until the ancients of days came, which is when he returns, right? And in the ancient of days too, right? Because Yahweh's spirit is going to be in that judgment, which is the second death by fire and brimstone, which is going to come by the way of nuclear missiles. And judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. Wait, judgment was not. Judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, right? And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. So not only is our Lord going to give vengeance, but he's going to allow us to give vengeance too, right? Thus he said the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, Roman. But this is Rome all over again. Where did the Romans go? Where are they at? They're still in rulership. They're Edomites. Which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and should devour the whole earth, and should tread down and break it in pieces, right? And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall rise and shall rise after them. It speaks about this Revelation 17. And he should be diverse from the first, and he should subdue the 3 kings, right? Um, Let me get straight to the point. What's going to happen? Verse 27. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints. Psalms 40, right? Is it Psalms 40? No, Psalms 50. Sorry, Psalms 50 breaks down who the saints are, which is the people of Israel that made a sacrifice made a covenant with the Lord, right? But it says should be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. But that's the point. That's a part of vengeance. Them having to serve and obey us too, because it's not just our Lord, but our Lord is going to give us that power too. But they want to escape that judgment. Let's go to Jeremiah 49. Let's go down to verse 12 straight to the point, right? It says, for thus sake the Lord, behold, days whose judgment was not to drink of the cup has surely drunken, because we went to a covenant. But when you go to Deuteronomy 28, if we sinned against the Lord, then we had those curses and we had that judgment put on us. It says, art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. Amalek, you're trying to go unpunished, but you're not going to go unpunished. You're trying to backtrack and say, well, yeah. Now you see that the Lord is waking up his people and there's nothing you could do about it. So now you're trying to say, yeah, you guys are Israelites and we're allies to you. No, you're trying to escape your punishment. Verse 13. But this is what the Lord said. I have sworn by myself, say the Lord. The Lord sworn by himself. You could admit the truth now all you want. You could come bond and eat all you want. But the Lord sworn this by himself. He said that Basra should become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, a curse, and all the cities thereof should be perpetual waste. That goes right along with Revelations 18 and 17. Mystery Babylon. It's called Basra. It's called spiritual Egypt. It's many different names. It's called America, right? It says, verse 14, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, and a ambassador is sent into the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. How do we know that this is talking about Mystery Babylon? Now he said, now remember, it said to the heathen, gather together, right, and raise up a battle and come up against her. But it called it Basra in Jeremiah 49, right? Now watch this. Now watch this. It's the same prophecy. This is how you break down the Bible. Little here, little there, right? And you get prophets that had the same vision, but they had different details of the same vision. So you get a little bit from this prophet, get a little bit from that prophet. You put it together to get the full picture. Now watch this. Watch this. Now remember, I'm gonna read it again, right? All right. So verse 14. Now remember, it said Basra in verse 13. That's what it's talking about. Basra. The Lord sworn by himself that Basra should be a desolation. Verse 14. And I heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent into the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to battle. So the heathen are together and come up against Basra, right? Now, where else do you hear that? Revelation 17, right? Verse 15. And he say unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth, which is Mystery Babylon, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Because Esau got blessing over peoples, nations, and tongues. Don't mean that they all inherit Esau's kingdom because they have to worship him or he's in rulership. Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. What is that? That's the heathen coming together to make battle against her. It's the same exact vision, just different details, right? For God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God should be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is a great city which reigneth over kings of earth. No different than Basra in Jeremiah 49. I heard a rumor by the Lord, ambassador is sent into the heathen. What's that? Him putting it in his heart, put it in the other nation's heart to fulfill his will. So that's how you break down the Bible. Let me jump to verse 16. Also, Edom. So then that gives you clue. If Jeremiah 49 and Revelation 17 is talking about the same vision, right? And we know that the great whore is a great city, but who's in rulership in that great city? Who rules that great city? Who's in power that's causing all this wickedness on earth? Verse 17 in Jeremiah 49 gives you the hint. Also, Edom should be a desolation. Everyone that goes by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at the plagues thereof. Who's in power? Edom. Who are these people claiming to be us? Edomites. Right? Verse 18, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord, no man shall abide there, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it. What is this talking about? Mystery Babylon, Basra. It's going to be destroyed the same way that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, which we know fire and brimstone rained from the sky. So we know how that's going to happen today. The Lord gave the world the technology. They didn't just make it up on their own. The Lord put that in man's heart to fulfill his will with nuclear missiles. And how do I know it's nuclear missiles rather than you might say, well, fire and brimstone could be an asteroid. The Lord could bring asteroids down and destroy it. But you want to know the difference? Go back to Revelation 17, right? Now let's read that again. Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. And this is talking about, EU, right? And then you got NATO, which is the military side, right? Shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. How do one nation or 10 other nations burn one nation with fire? Do they bring an asteroid out the sky to do it? No, we know that they shoot something called nuclear missiles. So when you look at the war that's going on with Russia and Ukraine, what are they talking about? Well, Russia's deploying their nuclear missiles. They're getting them ready. And then America sent missiles over to Ukraine. That's how one nation burns another nation on fire. By the way of nuclear missiles, they send nukes over there, explode, it burn up everything. That's how one nation. So that's how you know it's talking more about a weapon that the Lord gave the world, His technology. So, like it said, verse 17, for God has put it in their hearts to fulfill His will. He put it in their hearts to learn how to split an atom and create this great weapon, right? To destroy them so he could use it against them, and that's going to be called the second death by fire and brimstone. The same way that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, right? The Lord is going to destroy Mystery Babylon. Now, Esau in Genesis, going back to Genesis 27, one of Esau's blessings was what? He was blessed with the sword, and that he will rule the world with the sword. And what do we see him? What is his power? What's his most destructive weapon? Right? That gives him power over all these other nations. The fear of what? The fear of his nuclear missiles. If you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to put sanctions on you. We're going to bring our army in. We're going to send missiles over there. And if none of that could stop you, right, then we're going to nuke you, which is the same thing that happened in Japan. We're going to drop nukes on you. That's the last option. That's the last weapon that they got. But the Lord is going to take that weapon and use it against them. I mean, does any of this not make sense? This makes perfect sense, right? So let's end it with this, right? Let's go back to Revelations 2. One of my favorite precepts. And let's start at verse 25. Revelations 2, verse 25. But that which ye have already hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works to the end, to him would I give power over the nations. Not that the nations are going to rule with us. Not that there's going to be Edomites that's going to convert, right? And that's going to believe. And then the Lord is going to give Edomites power over their own people, the people Edom. Or Ishmaelites that's going to join us in the kingdom. And then the Lord is going to give them power over the rest of the Ishmaelites that didn't believe. That's not what that's confusion, man. When he says, look, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. Talking about the Israelites. He's going to give them power over the other nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So, yeah, they want to say, oh, we're brothers. And yeah, the African Americans are the northern tribe, and Amalek is the southern tribe. That's what they're trying to say. But guess what? We still want our vengeance. We don't want reparations. True reparations is vengeance, right? He that overcometh and keepeth my working to the end, to him will I give power over the nations. Well, what are we going to do when we get that power over the nations? So let's let the Bible answer that question. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As a vessel of powder shall they be broken in shivers, even as I received of my Father. So our Lord received this. Like when we read Daniel chapter 7, he came before the Ancient of Days, right? He got dominion over everything. He's going to give us that power. So we're going to get our vengeance too. What about our vengeance, man? And in the same way they put iron around our necks and they broke us like vessels of powder, should they be broken in shivers? That happened to us, right, during the transatlantic slave trade and many other slaveries of the Israelites, right, the true ones, right? We're gonna get the power to do it back. It says, and I will give him the morning star, and he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit say unto the churches. So this is by the Spirit, man, that we're gonna get vengeance. So no, we can't be brothers. No, everything's not cool just because y'all want to admit the truth. Look at this picture right here. There's a vengeance that's coming from that. And the same thing that happened to us is going to happen to them. Like I read in Jeremiah 49. And there's no way around it. Read Lamentations chapter 4. I'm going to leave it there and say salvation to the elect. Shalom.